Hi, I'm Ann Gaviola. Welcome to the Peak on Global, where we break down what is trending in the business world and what you need to know to stay ahead of the curve. Joining me now is Brett Chang of the Peak Podcast. Welcome, Brett.
Hey, Ann, great to be with you.
Let's dive right into it. There is an open letter. It's been signed by more than 1,000 artificial intelligence experts and tech leaders, past and present. They range from Elon Musk to Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak. They are demanding a 6-month pause in AI development so there can be global discussions about societal and existential risks, maybe a framework put in place. There are two camps when it comes to this, Brett. One that says a pause is useless, and the other suggests half a year isn't nearly long enough. What's your take?
It's a very complicated situation right now, and I know there's a lot of anxiety around AI safety. We actually just had an AI safety expert on our sister podcast, Free Lunch. Now, I think the big question around the future of AI and what regulation should look like is that it's really tough to come up with a global framework that everyone's going to comply with. And so, yes, we may be able to slow down AI development in the US, but will that apply to China or will that apply to Russia? How do we get those people on the same page as well? And because of the difficulty, I think there is a emerging, not consensus, but a vocal group that's saying that we must just continue on to push forward and work responsibly, or as responsibly as we can in the development of this new technology.
Yeah, what I think, my read on this is when you have people from rival companies, people from, different political leanings, all coming together saying this must be done and this must be done urgently, that probably means this is something that should have been addressed a long time ago. I mean, the right time to do this was maybe 6 months ago, but possibly better late than never. I'm going to segue into something that doesn't immediately look like it is related, but bear with me. So the question is, what do Pope Francis, wearing a massive puffy coat, and a dramatic police takedown of Donald Trump have in common? So the answer is that they're both AI-generated fake images that went viral. They were masquerading as legit news on social media. And a big worry here is that as content-consuming members of the public become increasingly saturated with fake images that can pass for real, they'll revert to what's known as their tribal instincts. So, Brett, that means they go back to their rigidly held preformed beliefs rather than weighing real news and facts and data. And apparently most people do this already. But think of all of this happening to the nth degree. Brett, your company has become a pretty prolific producer of real business content. I enjoy it. All my friends enjoy it. My question to you is the battle against fake news and fake images something that can even be won?
Well, that remains to be seen, and I sure do hope so. Obviously, we've seen the proliferation of fake news already, and we haven't even gotten into this new AI era. And I think what's going to end up happening is that institutions will remain to be trusted sources. And I hope that people will look towards organizations like the New York Times or the Globe and Mail or the Peak and say, hey, that's a trustworthy organization. I know that they're not creating any type of AI-generated fake news, and that's where they're going to go to get that content. However, there's always going to be a large constituency that will fall for the fake images and the fake articles that get out there, and that's deeply concerning, which is why I think, to your point, we really do need to have a more holistic discussion about what regulations might look like in this space, especially when it comes to the proliferation of fake content.
Yeah, so you can have the discussions about the policy, but I also think there's a public education piece that may be missing. We don't teach things in school like, fact checking and how to be analytical and critical of the things that you find, the content that you uncover online. And I think that may be part of it. Switching gears a little bit here. If you pay attention to the crypto markets, you may have noticed that the price of Bitcoin has rallied some, let's call it 70% this year to date. Some of that has to do with fears about the stability of the traditional financial system. And in other crypto news, another cryptocurrency, Dogecoin, has seen a price spike this week after Elon Musk swapped out Twitter's infamous bird logo with a Shiba Inu. What are your thoughts on this, Brett?
Just when you thought crypto was dead, they are back.
And it's not
Bitcoin
dead.
Is, for the first time, it's not dead yet, although it was pretty close for a second there. But Bitcoin is finally doing what Bitcoin supporters, maximalists, have been saying it would, which is that it is a safe haven asset, meaning that as you see these regional banking crises emerge in the U.S., that the expectation is that people will take their money out of these institutions and put them into safer assets. That could be treasury bills with the Federal Reserve. It could be Bitcoin, or it could be gold. And for the first time, we've seen Bitcoin actually respond to a crisis up with an upwards price trajectory. And that's pretty surprising to me. Now, is that true? The true correlation, is that exactly what's happening? It sure does look like it, but it's hard to see. And we really need to see if there's a trend here, if this has staying power to it. Now, if it does become that safe haven asset, I think the outlook for Bitcoin is bright. But again, we've got to see. We've seen this before, and we need to see if that's going to continue.
Yeah, I think crypto markets are volatile, and sometimes they're a hedge against inflation, except for when they're not. And they are cyclical as well, if you take a look at them on a really long-term kind of chart. Back to the topic of Twitter, though, Brett. Let's talk about those blue check marks. So they are proof that you're verified or that you've paid for a subscription. Now, first of all, I respect the fact that although you probably should have a blue check mark because you're the co-founder of the Peak, you actually don't have one, I checked. I have one from when before Elon Musk was running things at Twitter. I never paid for it, and I actually went so long without one. Global News is the first place that got me verified. It had become a point of pride for me, and I thought it was pretty cool that I didn't have one. I didn't want to do anything so mainstream. So my relationship with the blue check marks, much like my feelings about the Elon Musk Twitter era, it's all very complicated. What are your thoughts on this?
I think, Anne, there's a reason why you have a blue check mark and I don't. We'll let viewers decide as to why that is. But look, what's happening here is that Elon Musk is looking to justify the huge valuation that he paid for Twitter. And one of the best ways to do that, especially when you see the fleeing of certain advertisers on the platform, is to actually get users to pay for the product. And the blue check mark is his way of doing that. And whether that's a good idea or a great idea or a bad idea, we'll have to see. But it's going to bring some much needed revenue into it. I can say that at the Peak here, we made the determination that we will pay for the blue check mark, not because we want the verification per se. It's because they're now going to only allow verified accounts to have access to that For You page on the app. And we want to make sure that our content is seen by as many people as possible. And so, yes, we are willing to pay. But does that translate for day-to-day users? I think that's still up for debate.
Okay, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much for your time and your insight. A pleasure as always, Brett.
Thanks, Anne.
And you can get all your daily business news with the Peak Daily Podcast. It is available for free on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you find your favorite podcasts.